Hello and happy Thursday. Rebecca Steinhaus here with RE/MAX Services with wonderful Craig Stelter
Good
of
afternoon.
Cross Country Mortgage. We haven't done this in a while. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How have you been?
Great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff coming up, so I'm doing awesome.
Good.
It's the
Tis the
holidays.
season.
Next week is
It is crazy. It's so nuts how this year flew.
Oh my god, I know.
Wow.
Oh, it did go really fast.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what are we talking about today?
All right. So, hot subject right now is
Q Fire.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The rates have been going up all year, right? That's no secret. In our local market, buyers are trying to time things to the best of their ability,
Yeah.
right? And so every single day I'm asked if now is a good time to buy.
Is now a good time to buy?
It's a great question, Rebecca. It's obviously in my position, it's a loaded
It's
question.
always a good time to buy for Craig.
If you like what you see, just buy it. You can afford it. No, I really try not to give people advice based on opinion, right?
Obviously.
I tell people, I go over numbers,
Yeah.
and then ultimately people have to decide if it's the right time for them.
Yeah.
What's interesting though, that I've really been working on and trying to quantify so I can give advice with facts is even if the market does pull back, because everyone professes to be clairvoyant and everyone seems to agree that the market is going to decrease. I don't know where they get this from, but the housing market is going down apparently is what everyone says. So let's just say that happens, and let's say that that happens. But the rates continue on the trend.
I was told by my stepfather that I was told that recessions happen every 8 to 10 years.
Sure.
And I think the reason why everybody's like, oh no, we're going to get another crash is because we're going on 10 years.
Right.
And everyone's doing great, and we're like, it's just like a ticking time bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So would you agree on that, or?
It's tough to say because the factors that went into the last housing collapse are completely different than what we're experiencing now.
Right.
In theory, we have a healthy economy now. We're in a strong market. We've been in a strong market. More importantly, a lot of the loans that caused the crash before are non-existent now.
Right.
And so before, what you had were these high-risk loans, over-leveraged. Yeah, you know the deal. So like these loans all went poof at once and caused a meltdown, right? But now people have to generally put money down for loans. They're more qualified.
Yeah.
Underwriters and lenders use a lot more scrutiny.
Yeah.
So again, in the spirit of what we're talking about here, I try not to make predictions on the housing market or assumptions because someone wants to buy a house, I'm going to give them the numbers and they're going to decide.
Yeah.
People ask my opinion, I'll give them the numbers on what it would look like now, what it would look like at a later date, and ultimately they can make a decision. What's interesting though is that rates have gone up over a point since about this time last year. That's happened.
For example, what were the rates last year?
Around 4, and now they're around 5, even a little bit above 5. So that's a fact, right? That's happened.
Yeah.
And so if we assume that rates are going to continue going up, even if the market pulls back, right? What you can do the math on, and what I did was, I ran some numbers on, let's say, a $300,000 house. Rates go up 1% in the next year. Okay. But let's also say that the home market drops a little bit. Okay. So you're a buyer, and you say to yourself, look, I'm going to wait a year, and I'm going to save some money. I'm going to continue renting. I'm going to try to save some money and try to time the market.
Right.
And let's say
what I'm trying to do.
And this is.
I don't think it's going to work, but.
So let's just say you're paying $1,500 a month in rent for a year.
Yeah.
And you're paying $1,500 a month in a year, and so $18,000. And let's say that $300,000 house drops to, I don't know, $270,000. So it drops by 10%, but rates go up by 1% in that same time. So a year from now, that payment is going to be $180 more per month.
Because the interest is higher?
Because the interest is higher, even at a lower price. So the only way that waiting would have worked, really, without even counting in rent, that price would have had to have dropped by $35,000 just for at a 1 point higher rate
So
for the
you have
payment
to-
to be the same.
Right.
And that's not including the 18 grand you spent on rent. And that's not including anything you were able to write off on that house that year.
Yeah.
So, you know,
So my
it's-
other question when it comes to when the interest rates go up, right? Don't after a few years, maybe after like whatever, doesn't it go back down eventually?
I mean, in your father's, was your father?
Stepdad,
Stepfather?
yeah.
If it's a 10-year cycle and they continue to tick up a little bit, not necessarily. I mean,
Because didn't it go up before the last recession now, and then it went back down, and now it's going back
Yeah.
up?
but
So wouldn't it go back down again eventually?
not always. Right now, I mean,
Well, my follow-up question with that was, when it does go back down, couldn't you refinance? I think we talked about that in another
yeah,
video.
so, you know, generally in the state of Florida, refinances can be pretty expensive.
So it's like,
So the rates would have to drop quite a bit for a refinance to be equitable. Right? So, I mean, generally in Florida, you wouldn't refi for a quarter in rate or a half a
Right.
point.
Right.
Unless you were going from maybe a 30 to a 15 or something like that. So no, and again, you know, the advice that we give people is more certain. You know, like,
yeah,
I don't like telling people to assume that they're going to refinance, you know,
yeah, because
because
you
it's
never
not
know
always
what
the
happens.
case. So,
That makes sense.
and on a $400,000 house, same exact example, the price would have to drop by over $42,000 to have the same payment a year from now at a 1 point higher rate.
So your
Right.
payments are going to be higher.
Yeah, so
So it's really not
the
worth it to wait.
it's
You're ready
really,
to buy.
I would say, when people make housing decisions, it should be based on what's affordable for them now, or what's more, where they see their life in a year or 2 years, if it's going to be a primary residence.
Yeah,
Timing based on what they think the market is going to do is not the right way, in my opinion, to decide on a primary residence.
right. It's like having a crystal ball.
If you need a place to live, you need a place to live.
Yeah,
Buying will always make more sense than renting if you're comparing equal dollars
right.
because of the benefits of owning, right? And so you make decisions based on where you see your life going. Maybe you're a single person and you see yourself as a married person in a couple of years, and so the place you may buy now is different than what you may want to buy in a couple of years, and so
Yeah.
you choose to wait. That makes sense to wait,
Yeah.
obviously, right? You're not gonna,
Well, that's why I think a lot of millennials were taking their time buying something because
Mm-hmm.
they're like, well, I don't know where I'm going to live in 2-3 years. Like when you're fresh out of college, you never know if you're going to like be in the same spot
course.
in 2-3 years,
Yeah.
and then after that, unless you're like ready to buy something and settle down. But
if you have a plan, like if you see, like let's say,
don't plan, you plan to fail.
Exactly. Nice. Stepfather.
No, that's my mom.
So, if you're buying something now that's maybe in your price point now, with a plan to, in a couple of years, move up and rent the place out, and that model makes sense based on what your payment is now,
Right.
then you do it now.
Right.
Because it's all just based on your needs now and timing now. I think it makes sense to wait in certain circumstances, like we
Yeah.
talked about. But the math, if someone asks my opinion on should I buy or should I wait for timing of the market, the answer is you buy. Right?
If you are capable to buy, willing and ready, is that like an offer, like a
If
willing and ready to buy right now?
the rates presumably are at the low point for a very long time, which means you'll pay less for that house over time. So even if the market pulls back, say 10%, you still come out ahead with a lower interest rate over the life of the loan.
Right.
Right? If you are way bearish the market and you think the market's going to do what it did in 2007, totally different story. But if you just think there's going to be a healthy correction, 10%, 15%, the math favors buying. Right?
And from your standpoint, it's, well, I guess we talked about that. Like, it's not going to be how it was 10 years ago because we're not dealing with those variables pretty much.
I don't believe that it will. I can eat
Dealing
my
with
words.
different
I don't believe that it will.
Yeah.
I could see, and I don't think it will happen, but it could happen where the market pulls back. Some. It could happen. That's
Yeah.
you know, that there are cycles and things.
Yeah.
I don't see another crash. A
Yeah.
pullback is different than a crash. You know, we're in a healthy economy. We're in a very desirable market here. Boca Raton, Delray Beach, Boynton Beach. People want to live here.
Yeah. That's what we were saying at the event last month.
Yeah, and remember we talked about before where, you know, we have an influx of people from up north where it's just,
Yeah.
and from states that have state income taxes
Yeah.
and where you have high property taxes. You can only write off
Yeah.
$10,000 of it now. I mean, it becomes, when you start looking at the money that you're making,
Yeah.
you are bringing home a lot less money in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut,
Tri-state area.
Massachusetts, Illinois, California. I mean, it starts to make a lot of sense to move to Florida. There's worse
Yeah.
places to live, right?
Yeah.
So from that perspective,
And it's 72 degrees every day.
right?
It's not snowing here, guys. I know it's snowing in New York.
So I think, and I also think that's why our market hasn't slowed down as much as certain other areas of the country.
I don't
There
know
are
if you
some
deal
other-
with out-of-state people.
I do.
Has it?
Yeah, it's a little slower in other areas of the country, and I think there's a lot more migration
Here.
here than there normally would be
I mean,
because of all
we
that
usually
stuff.
do get a good hit
Yeah.
around season time anyway.
See you later.
Otherwise, I mean, a lot of people, the snowbirds do come down this
Sure.
time normally to get away from the cold.
I think a lot of
obviously,
families too, even not only just snowbirds, but
I moved
think,
here in the middle of winter.
I mean, you think about it. So if you're making whatever, I don't know, a couple $100,000 in New York, you're taking home about half of that by the time it's all said and
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And then the cost of living is more than it is
Yep.
here. So I mean, it gets whittled down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it's, it starts to make a lot more sense. And there's opportunity here, and there's
So if
affordable
you're
housing,
thinking
and
about
there's
buying something in Florida, do it now. Don't
Right.
wait. Is there any other facts, figures? you
yeah.
wanted
So
to
like
share?
some other things I'm seeing more of, and again, this isn't so much. That
Ranted
advice was
for
more
a
geared
second,
towards
yeah.
a buyer or a realtor. As buyers are thinking that they're going to outsmart the market.
Right.
But what I'm seeing more of now, people are planning more for long term when they buy, and so that involves more home improvement, which I spoke about on a Breakfast with the Broker with David.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more renovation lending going on. There's also a lot more 15-year fixed loans. So
Fixed.
yeah, so majority of people do 30-year fixed loans,
Right.
right? And because that gives them the lowest payment.
Uh-huh.
Well, if payment is less of an issue and you just want to pay the least amount of interest over the life of the loan, it makes sense to look at a 20 or a 15-year loan.
I didn't even know you could do 20 years.
You can, and so generally 20-year loans are a little bit less expensive rate-wise than a 30. 15-year can be as much as 3/4 of a percentage point lower than a 30. On a
So-
$400,000 loan, a 15-year fix is about $900 more a month than a 30. But
So why do most people do 30-year loans?
it's just affordability and flexibility.
Oh.
Not everyone has a like a W-2 salary job,
Oh.
so incomes vary. And so people like to just know the least amount they have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
A 15-year though is a good. I mean, it is a guaranteed payback of your investment.
Mm-hmm.
If you pay extra money per month, you are going to pay that loan down quicker.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to own that home quicker. You are going to pay less interest over the life of the loan. And with a volatile market, there aren't that many
Yeah.
guaranteed investments out there, right?
Yeah.
So I see more people doing stuff like that. I see people putting down more money on their house. Because again,
Yeah.
like if the stock market is down a couple thousand points and you're someone where maybe you're already doing 20-30% down, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you put down another $50,000 on your house, that saves you $250 per month on a 30-year loan. Okay, so that's a 6% return on that 50 grand. So if you did 100,000 down, it's 500 a month, 6% annualized return on that money.
You're kind of losing me, but okay.
Basically,
The more you put down, the less
more
your
you-
payment, obviously.
it's a guaranteed return on your money of 6% if you put down more money on your loan.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. So again, these are things that you're not thinking about when money is real cheap.
Yeah.
But as rates start to go up, you see more of that.
Yeah.
And it starts to make a little more sense. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. But hopefully some of this information is helpful. You're also seeing now.
I think that was helpful. I think the biggest thing you said was just like don't wait because the prices aren't going to drop that much, and even if they do, the interest is going to rise, so you're paying the same amount.
Yeah, it's a
like
wash.
It doesn't equal out.
Yeah, and most people don't realize.
Even
that.
I thought that. I was like, let's wait and see what happens. Like you never know.
People. I deal in fact, and I can't predict what the housing market's going to do, but I can tell you that if rates go up, while prices drop a little bit, you come out ahead with a lower rate over time. That's a fact. If the market does crash, and I eat my words, then of course you should have waited.
Then you can go back and yell at Craig. But I mean,
this thing, we can edit this, right?
yeah.
But just
I mean, but you're right. Like, you need to base things on facts, not just like opinions.
so if
You have
people,
the facts.
if you rent for a year
Or numbers. Yeah.
and you spend 18 grand this year, and your rate's a point higher a year from now, you come out pretty far behind by waiting.
Yeah.
So, it's each person has their own needs, but there's good information, and it is a good opportunity to buy stuff. I believe in that wholeheartedly.
Don't wait.
Mm-hmm.
I think I made the caption. Is it a good time to wait? No.
So, if anyone has any questions about that, as always, you can reach me. But hopefully, that educates you guys on
561
929-1083.
929 1083.
And as always, I appreciate you having us on here.
Yeah. Tune in every few Thursdays. We're live. We've been very busy. We got a lot of stuff coming up. Next week we're having a pie day here.
Ooh, I like pie.
Yeah, you should come by. Have some pie on Tuesday. And then we have Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Awesome.
Then we have a holiday networking event on December 13th.
We'll be there.
And then we're going to all wear ugly sweaters on the last Friday before Christmas.
Nice.
So we got a lot of stuff going on. So hopefully we'll get you in.
Cool.
Have another one of these videos the next few weeks.
We'll have information from me and
More
fun
information.
facts from Rebecca's parents.
Shane and Mike. Thanks, guys. Happy Thursday.